Hi everyone, I am gonna film today the video for Module 6 on race and ethnicity. But before we go into that, I promised last week that we were gonna talk about some of the items in quiz number 3 that were a little bit problematic or created a little bit of stress among some of the students. And I'm going to explain to you what we're going to do about those items in quiz number 3. Quiz number 4, I will not be discussing it because everyone did really great. So, yay, congratulations. And quiz number 5, I am not going to discuss it because pretty much I only have 2 or 3 students that have submitted. So I want to wait for the rest of the students to submit to at least until next Monday to kind of go over it and revise the content of the quiz. And in terms of the reflections, I'll be grading them this week, and you should have the grades posted by next Monday, as well as feedback on your reflection papers. After that, I'm gonna be writing individual emails. I'm gonna evaluate your grades up to this point, and I'm gonna be writing individual emails to the students I feel might be struggling a little bit or might need extra support, or students that I haven't seen a little too much active in Canvas, completing the modules, tasks, assignments, and otherwise quizzes. So I'll be communicating with folks individually as I complete grading this week your reflection papers, just to give you an idea of where you are. So for quiz number 3, there are 3 items that I think caused a little bit of problem, and after careful consideration, I have decided that at least for those 2 items, I'm gonna make some concessions for you guys. The first item is question number 2, which says the label Latina intertwines race and ethnicity, ethnicity and gender, language and race, language and gender. So the correct answer was ethnicity and gender. However, I also feel that for those of you who chose the response race and ethnicity can also be correct. I think the problem comes because in the article that talked about this specific issue, race and ethnicity are lumped together. And I think they were kind of arguing more towards the fact that because they view them as a single category, they added gender as an additional construct, which kind of is embedded in the definition of what Latino, Latina means. However, I will give 1 point whether you answered race and ethnicity and gender. Those are the only 2 responses that I'm accepting as correct. The other question is question 5. Question 5, assimilation is a gradual process in which people, without dismissing their native cultures, begin to adopt aspects of the dominant culture as a result of exposure. For that question, I am not going to make any concessions because I feel it was pretty well explained in the article, which this question relates to. So the definition that is offered in there is actually acculturation. Acculturation, I think they're pretty similar, assimilation and acculturation, but acculturation kind of means that while I am kind of embedding myself or making as part of myself my new culture, I don't neglect my native culture. So I can coexist with both. Assimilation, on the other hand, means that I am dismissing my culture, my native culture, right? Assimilating means that I'm kind of blending to the extent that I pretty much feel as if I am one with the culture, right? With the culture that I am now living or moving into, or that I'm trying to integrate myself to. And you kind of neglect, because you're trying to kind of assimilate, right? To kind of become like people from that culture, right? People that were born in that cultural context, that you're trying to kind of look and act like them in a sense. And to that extent, you are sort of disregarding or dismissing your own native culture. So I think they're very similar, but upon rereading the question on the article, I will not be making any concessions on question number 5. So the correct answer is false. And the last question, which is 6, the term Latina encompasses and combines a mass of ethnicities and heritages, recognizing individual differences in culture. Now, this one, I will be giving, the question is worth 2 points. I'll be giving 1 point because upon rereading, again, the article and the question, I can see where the confusion is stemming from. So even though I provided you like notes in your quizzes on each of these items that were of kind of contention, I think the term Latina and Latino pretty much does the opposite of recognizing individual differences, right? As the first part of the sentence suggests, it kind of lumps everyone into a big category, assuming that all Latinos are the same. And we kind of discussed that, or I think we pretty much discussed this on last video, that it really doesn't recognize the heterogeneity and diversity of Latino cultures. That said, I think probably when you guys read the sentence, maybe kind of led you to misinterpret it, or read it in a different light than what it was meant to be read. Because I think the first part of the sentence, it is correct, right? The term Latina encompasses and combines a mass of ethnicities and heritages. However, the second part is false. It really doesn't recognize individual differences in culture. I'm willing to make the concession because, again, sometimes when reading the questions, I'm thinking that maybe some students understood recognizing individual differences different than what I understood. So I won't be giving you the 2 full points because I also feel that it was well explained in the article. But I will be making the concession and I'll be giving you guys an extra point for that. So I'm currently filming this video. After I'm done filming, I will be revising your grades. So please come back later on today to check on your grades for quiz 3 again. That said, I wanted to quickly discuss issues of race and ethnicity to kind of help you gain awareness and challenge yourself on this topic. And in reading some of the discussion board posts, I'm kind of delighted to see and reassured as a human being that race, ethnicity, gender, sexuality issues are very interactive, dynamic, and complex, particularly within the Latino group. And here I'm giving a personal example. I think in rereading some of the readings of this week, I have to share that I have also struggled to identify myself in the US context. I grew all my life in Puerto Rico, and growing up in Puerto Rico, the issue of race wasn't really present in my life. I kind of never thought about it growing up, never realized that it could be a problem, never really pondered about it. When I started reflecting and kind of having a conflict regarding to race was when I came to live into the US. I moved to New York City the first time I came into the US. And that is the first time that I was put in the position to confront my own racial identity, and to kind of feel uncomfortable with my own race. And that was when I was 21. I'm currently 35. And my definition of who I am racially has really changed drastically since I came into the US. And I've been in contact with a diverse group of students, colleagues, friends, family members. And I think what some of the articles highlight is very true. Oftentimes we confuse the terms race and ethnicity. Um, Even it seems that based on the categories created by our census, some Latinos consider themselves whites, which have led for the census folks to kind of create Hispanic or Latino as a race category for upcoming censuses. And I'm going to give you my 50 cents on this. And I think talking about personal experience also helps students understand how we might all feel about these issues. So obviously I'm white skinned, and I think some of the articles get into that, but I do not identify myself as a white Latina. I identify myself as a mixed Latina. I am very proud and kind of see the physical traits that I have also inherited from the Taino or our native people, from the Black culture in Puerto Rican. And I feel I have all those components within myself, like physically, spiritually, emotionally speaking. And I've come to this conclusion after years of kind of informing and educating myself, and also how I feel about myself. However, as a Latina, I've also struggled because um, people kind of judge you based on your outer appearance, right? It's kind of those immediate reactions that people have, and they assume that, she's Latina, but she's white. I've had people confronted me or ask me whether I'm sure or not that I'm Latina based on the color of my skin. People that have also told me, I think you may enjoy more privileges as a Latina because you are white skinned. So all those issues have kind of left me conflicted and made me reflect and become educated about what being Latina really means. And the truth is that Latinos are a wide and vast constellation. I think I'm really against the census or any form of government, census or survey kind of putting everyone into boxes, because I think it doesn't really capture the essence of who you are, and that puts us in a very uncomfortable position, because I think we have to neglect parts of ourselves to fit, like, right, assimilate or acculturate in our new culture. um, Parts of us get chipped away, they get forgotten, they get kind of put under the rug, because in order for us to be able, and the articles kind of suggest this, in order for us to fit into the definition of citizenship, and I think with current US policies and narratives, the issue of race is once again be creating an ethnicity, creating a lot of tensions, which have always been present, but I think they're becoming more heightened in the recent years. So I think yes, I'm pretty much against those kind of structures in which they want to put you into a box because they neglect parts of ourselves. Um, and it kind of forces us, it takes away, talking about the context of social work practice. How does that impact our self determination, our construction of the self? If in order for me to fit in a group, I have to neglect and hide or conceal aspects of myself that are important. Um, Also, the sense that I always have to justify my race or ethnicity to people is kind of conflicting, right? The fact that I cannot assert who I am and people will respect and understand that. In my own case, the fact that I always have to be questioned about my whiteness in respect to being Latina and what that means for me, um, as if I feel that I owe an explanation into the world, to the world of how I consider myself a mixed person. So I think I kind of wanted to sensitize you to that fact, because I think we're living in a current in an age in which, in the past couple of years, 2 or 3 years, kind of like these issues of race and ethnicity have heightened to a degree that it kind of has made us questions, to what extent have we really progressed historically speaking, um, and all these discussions about race and ethnicity. and lumping all kind of Latinos into one group, like within Latino cultures. In some parts of Latin America, you're going to have more native populations that don't speak Spanish language. You're going to have more negros, more blacks, more Afro Caribbean races, right? So you're going to have white folks. So I think it also kind of erases the question of race, right? It kind of lumps us into one category and makes us feel like the same when historically some groups have, in the context of Latin America, have had struggles precisely because of race and ethnicity, right? And the fact that we want to kind of put everyone in the same bag, to me, it disrespects to some degree um, those kind of difficulties or historical problems or difficulties or oppressive responses, oppressive mechanisms, lack of access, lack of power that has been historically associated with certain groups. Not only Latinos that are coming to the US, but also Latinos within their own Latin American countries have also experienced issues of race, class, ethnicity, and the associated oppression and lack of power related to that. So I wanted to sensitize you to those issues because I think what I would like you to do as you write your board post, if you haven't done so, is kind of reflect on that. Kind of challenge yourself, who I really am, how do I construct myself, how do I view myself, um, how has moving into this country, being born in this country, slash being born in this country, have sort of shaped how I view myself racially and ethnically. That said, I wanted to end on a note that I do think race and ethnicity are two different constructs, right? They're not the same, even though I think some of the articles argue that. Folks are arguing to kind of blend them or like make, for example, the Hispanic Latino ethnicity into a race. But I do think they're very different constructs. To me, race is different than ethnic group. And also the fact that, keep in mind, race and ethnicity are social constructs, right? These are constructs that were created to organize ourselves, to kind of divide ourselves in groups and classes, which is what society does. But that doesn't mean that ethnicity is not fluid as well as race. It doesn't mean that it doesn't intersect with other things, like I was saying last week, with other important variables in your life. It doesn't mean that it's not complex and it's not dynamic. I wanted to kind of share those thoughts with you. Again, come back again later today to check your updated grades, and I'll see you again next week for another video. Bye bye.